A space probe is a robotic spacecraft that leaves Earth orbit and explores space. It may approach the Moon, enter interplanetary space, flyby, orbit, or land on other planetary bodies, or approach interstellar space. See List of active Solar System probes for a list of active probes. The space agencies of the USSR, the United States, the European Union, Japan, China and India have in the aggregate launched probes to several planets and moons of the Solar System as well as to a number of asteroids and comets. Approximately 15 missions are currently operational. Interplanetary trajectories. Once a probe has left the vicinity of Earth, its trajectory will likely take it along an orbit around the Sun similar to the Earth's orbit. To reach another planet, the simplest practical method is a home and transfer orbit. More complex techniques, such as gravitational slingshots, can be more fuel efficient, though they may require the probe to spend more time in transit. Some high delta-V missions can only be performed within the limits of modern propulsion, using gravitational slingshots, a technique using very little propulsion, but requiring a considerable amount of time, is to follow a trajectory on the interplanetary transport network. Some notable probes: Luna 9 first man-made object to soft land on the Moon, or any other extraterrestrial surface. Luna 3 first mission to photograph the far side of the Moon, launched in 1959. Luna 16 first robotic sample return probe from the Moon. Lunokhod 1 first rover on Moon. It was sent to the Moon on November 10, 1970. Mariner 10 first probe to Mercury. Venera 4 first successful in-place analysis of another planet. It may have also been the first space probe to impact the surface of another planet, although it is unclear whether it reached Venus' surface. Venera 7 The Venera 7 probe was the first spacecraft to successfully soft land on another planet and to transmit data from there back to Earth. Mariner 9 Upon its arrival at Mars on November 13, 1971, Mariner 9 became the first space probe to maintain orbit around another planet. Mars 3 first soft landing on Mars. Although the spacecraft failed shortly after landing, Sojourner first successful rover on Mars. Spirit and Opportunity The Mars exploration rovers, Spirit and Opportunity surface and geology, and searched for clues to past water activity on Mars. They were each launched in 2003 and landed in 2004. Communication with Spirit stopped on Sol 2210. Opportunity arrived at Endeavour Crater on 9 August 2011, at a landmark called Spirit Point named after its rover twin. After traversing 13 miles from Victoria Crater, over a 3-year period. As of January 16, 2012, Opportunity has lasted for more than 8 years on Mars, although the rovers were intended to last only 3 months. Halle Armada The first dedicated missions to a comet, in this case, to Halley's Comet during its 1985-86 journey through the inner solar system. It was also the first massive international coordination of space probes on an interplanetary mission, with probes specifically launched by the Soviet Space Agency, European Space Agency, and Japan's ISAS. Original a solar observatory in the International Sun-Earth Explorer series. It was sent into solar orbit to make the first close observations of a comet, Comet Giacobini-Zinner, in 1985 as a prelude to studies of Halley's Comet. Vega 2 Russian, French spacecraft. They dropped landers and balloons at Venus before their rendezvous with Halley's Comet. Sakigake This Japanese probe was the first non-US, non-Soviet interplanetary probe. Suisei a second Japanese probe. It made ultraviolet wavelength observations of the comet. Giotto the first space probe to penetrate a comet's coma and take close-up images of its nucleus. Genesis first solar wind sample return probe from Sun-Earth L1. Stardust first sample return probe from a comet tail. Near Shoemaker first probe to land on an asteroid. Hayabusa first sample return probe to launch from an asteroid. Rosetta. The Rosetta space probe has flown by 2 asteroids and is aiming to rendezvous and explore Comet 67P Churyumov-Gerasimenko. It rendezvoused with the comet in November 2014. Pioneer 10 first probe to Jupiter. Radio communications were lost with Pioneer 10 on January 23, 2003, because of the loss of electric power for its radio transmitter, with the probe at a distance of 12 billion kilometers from Earth. Pioneer 11 first probe to fly by 2 planets and first probe to Saturn. Voyager 1. Voyager 1 is a 733-kilogram probe launched September 5, 1977. It is currently, still operational, making it the longest-lasting mission of the U.S. National Aeronautics and Space Administration. It visited Jupiter and Saturn and was the first probe to provide detailed images of the moons of these planets. Voyager 1 is the farthest human-made object from Earth, traveling away from both the Earth and the Sun at a relatively faster speed than any other probe. As of September 12, 2013, Voyager 1 is about 12 billion miles from the Sun. On August 25, 2012, Voyager 1 became the first human-made object to enter interstellar space. Voyager 1 has not had a functioning plasma sensor since 1980, but a solar flare in 2012 allowed scientists from NASA to measure vibrations of the plasma surrounding the craft. The vibrations allowed scientists to measure the plasma to be much denser than measurements taken in the far layers of our heliosphere, thus concluding the craft had broken beyond the heliopause. Voyager 2. Voyager 2 was the first probe to complete the planetary grand tour of the gas giants, and the first probe to visit Uranus and Neptune. Voyager 2 is the second farthest human-made object from Earth, next to Voyager 1 at a distance of 101.2 astronomical units as of July 11, 2013. Cassini-Huygens probe sent to orbit Saturn significantly expanded our knowledge of the ringed system. Detached her lander to land on Titan on January 14, 2005. New Horizons first probe to be launched to Pluto. Launched on the 19th of January 2006, it flew by the Pluto-Charon system on the 14th of July 2015. Dawn first spacecraft to visit and orbit a protoplanet, entering orbit on July 16, 2011. Entered orbit around dwarf planet Ceres in early 2015. Currently orbiting Ceres as of April 2015. Juno first probe to Jupiter without atomic battery, launched August 8, 2011. Chang'e first probe to orbit the Moon, visit Sun-Earth L2 Lagrangian point and make a flyby of asteroid 4179 to Tartus, beyond the Solar System, along with Pioneer 10, Pioneer 11, and its sister space probe Voyager 2. Voyager 1 is now an interstellar probe. Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 have both achieved solar escape velocity, meaning that their trajectories will not return them to the Solar System. Probe images. Examples of space probe imaging: telescope cameras. Image-forming systems on space probes typically have a multitude of specifications, but aperture can be useful because it constrains the best diffraction limit and light gathering area. Gallery. Photograph of Voyager 1, Voyager 2. Artist's concept of Pioneer 10, Pioneer 11. Artist's concept of Pioneer 10 near Jupiter. Artist's concept of New Horizons approaching Pluto. Artist's concept of New Horizons near Pluto. Artist's concept of Cassini in Saturn's orbit. Artist's concept of Galileo encounter with Io. Artist's depiction of stardust during the burn to depletion phase. Artist's depiction of Mars global surveyor. Titan 4B on launch pad.